Every step towards your goals requires sacrifice, suffering, struggle, and tireless exertions of passionate action. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. The steps to becoming great are not giant leaps, but small steps of moving forward each moment. Life is a long road, so we stay focused, we stay hopeful, and we keep moving forward. There's a reason the windshield is so much larger than the rear view mirror. The longer we keep looking back, we don't just miss what's ahead, but the road ahead can become more dangerous than the one behind. The most important thing we can do is respond to everything in life with a resolve to learn and be better than we were the moment before. We believe that progress is greater than perfection, that becoming is greater than being, and that we'll become greater by moving always forward.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the podcast, Always Forward. I'm here, your host, Phil, here with my other co-host, JP.
Hey Phil.
Hey JP.
We're going to get things started today. First episode, and we're here with Scooter today, co-owner of Moss Creek Fitness, the gym that we own together, that we started. And so today, as we start episode 1, we're just going to talk a little bit about the whole Always Forward mantra, what it means, how we implement it at our gym, where it was kind of born into existence, and then also just the importance of core values for our business, but also if you're a business owner, gym owner, whatever leadership role that you might be in, just the vitality of having core values implemented in your life personally, in your family, in your business, in leadership in every way. Just the importance of those core values and how that's worked for us in that process. And so as we jump into that, we want to take a quick second to thank our podcast sponsor, Boxstar. BoxstarApparel.com. You guys check them out. They have a really great mantra as well. Their tagline is greater than yesterday. So we love to partner with companies who are super like-minded. And so obviously it's just kind of another iteration of the Always Forward thing, that day to day, we're always getting better. And if you commit to the process. And so you guys check them out, BoxstarApparel.com. In the future, we'll be able to offer you guys, as listeners, some different discounts and stuff like that. So just kind of stay tuned for that. So shout out to Boxstar. And I guess let's get rolling.
Yeah, get some sweet swag.
Yeah, also, disclaimer, we are filming this in our CrossFit gym. And so you may hear some barbells, you may hear some music, you may hear some grunting. So it's okay.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah, part of it.
All right, well, let's move forward.
Yeah, Phil, let's move forward.
Awesome. So I kind of like to start off with, how did the Always Forward mantra where did it start and kind of where that process, moved along?
I think that it started internally for Scooter and I individually before we even knew each other, probably just in the years of his life and development. I think it's something that's been in us developing for years and years and years, just kind of in our own processes of learning how to deal with highs and lows in life, victories, failures, all of those things. Just this idea of not necessarily having moving forward as a perspective only, although it is a helpful perspective to have, but instead of having it as just a perspective, having it as a plan, like a plan of action, meaning, okay, whatever comes at me, whether positive or negative, whatever I face, which oftentimes a lot of our setbacks and a lot of our failures, if we're honest, are pretty much our own fault, really often. And so it's super important to learn how to respond to those things in a way that's going to allow you to move forward. And so we say the line a lot, we're going to learn how to fail forwards. And so I think that it was born and came to life when we started talking through our gym that we started about a year ago, and what we wanted the culture to be, what we wanted the community to be all about, how we wanted to brand ourselves. And I think that what we see, what we've seen in our life, what I see in those closest to me, and my wife and my family and our gym members, is not so much practical struggles where people come and lack ability to do something, or they lack effort, or they lack drive. And to be honest, even lack motivation. People get really, really debilitated in their process and really defeated because they lack the ability to see every day as the reward, to see the process as the reward. And people start to get frustrated with their progress because it's not actually progress that they're celebrating, it's perfection, which is unachievable. And so the Always Forward thing is just our attempt at trying to train people's mentality to have a plan of action to respond to the positives and the negatives, to say, hey, today we are going to be moving always forward. We're always getting better. We're going to be greater than yesterday, as Boxstar says, or as FNX says that we're huge fans of, that we're going to live in victory every day. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do amazing things every day, but it means you're going to look for the wins in the small things. It means you're going to look for the wins, maybe even in the failures. And so I think Always Forward for us is very personal. And we just kind of, it was born to life and came to life, was born into existence when we started the gym, because it's what we felt like people really needed. More than they needed fitness coaching, more than they needed CrossFit specifically, they needed this mentality that says, hey, like, we're going to, alongside you, teach you how to move forwards. And then I guess, just to keep talking because I talk a lot, I think that even this podcast for us, and even creating this content is our attempt at moving forward. Because Scooter gets on to me really often about wanting to be like ready before I do something. And Ben Bergeron has a really great quote. He's a gym owner in the CrossFit community, if you guys don't know him, and he says the way to do things is to jump and to grow wings on the way down. And that's how you learn, and that's how you grow. And so even this podcast is our attempt at moving forward, because it would be great if we were in the perspective of being a gym that's already sent somebody to the CrossFit Games. We're not there yet. I think that we're going to get there. And to be honest, I don't think that we're super far in a lot of different capacities. And we're not a gym of 500 people, 500 members yet that are paying all of our coaches $100,000. But hopefully we'll get there for you, for all of us. But things are going well. And so we feel like it's super valuable to go, we don't want to preach at people from the perspective of having achieved all of the success. Things are going well. We want to celebrate that. But we want to be more about taking people by the hand and saying, all right, guys, like, we're doing this too. And so come with us. And hopefully a year from now, all that stuff I just mentioned is different, because we've moved forward as a gym. We've moved forward as individuals every day. And hopefully the people who start this journey with us are moving forward too. And so a year from now, things should look way different. But we want to celebrate tomorrow as well. And so I think even this podcast is our attempt at going, hey guys, we don't know where this thing is going. We're excited about it. Come along for the ride. So.
Great. I love it. I love what you said, though. It's a plan, right?
Yeah.
Things are going to go wrong in life.
Yeah.
And if you have a plan, well, at least you have something to fall back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love it. So I know there's 3 core values to that mantra, right?
Yeah.
There's humility, there's positivity, and there's excellence.
Yeah.
So let's kind of break those down.
Cool.
So what is humility?
Cool. Yeah. So reason we have core values, a year in, we're trying to establish our culture, our brand, our identity, all of that. And I think that it's great to approach everything with good intentions. But good intentions don't entirely achieve things all the time. And so it's super hard to reach a goal that you haven't set, or to hold yourself accountable to a vision that hasn't been communicated. And so it's unfair for us to hold ourselves to a standard that hasn't even been created, or to ask our gym members to rise to a certain level of not just good behavior, but of culture when that hasn't been communicated. And so we're a year into this thing now going, all right, what's our brand? What's our identity? And so out of that came 3 things. Humility, what you said, humility, positivity, and excellence. We felt like those 3 things really encompassed the brand and the culture we're trying to create here. So humility being the first one. And again, a lot of this stuff is stolen from other people, which is all that you do in life. So sorry if you came up with this. We appreciate it.
What, Simpsons did it?
Yeah.
Simpsons did it.
Run it. Yeah.
So a lot of this is taken from other people who are smarter than us, and that's fine with us. And so hopefully you gain from it too. But in humility, we mean humility is not thinking less, or not thinking of. Sorry, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And so it's not putting yourself down, it's not demeaning yourself, it's not calling yourself less than what you are in order to build somebody up, because that's fake encouragement anyways. But humility is legitimately considering others as more important than yourself. And so you can that's a huge biblical thing, but more than that, not more than that, but that is, I think, the basis of all humility is considering others, to look somebody else in the eyes and say, I'm going to consider you more valuable than myself now. And so we want that to be a huge part of our culture here, is how do we interact with each other in a way that says, hey man, I care more about you than I do myself right now, because we think that's really where you come to life anyways. And so we want to think of ourselves less, and we want to consider others more. I think as coaches, as owners, that means when members walk in the door, the gym is about the member. We are here to serve them. They're not here to accomplish anything. Scooter and I have dropped into a number of different CrossFit gyms, and it's so painful, the CrossFit gyms you drop into, and it's obvious that it only exists because the owner wanted a place to work out. And it's like his platform and his stage. We don't want to be about that. Like, our coaches need to be transparent. Like, you see straight through them because it's not about them, it's about the members. And so I think for us, it's super useful to have that in place because we can check each other on it. So it's when somebody walks in and maybe we don't celebrate the fact that they came in that day because we're too in our own zone or in our own headspace or whatever, it's easy for Scooter to go, hey man, humility. For us to check each other on that, to say, hey, are you sincerely considering somebody? Are you considering that person more important than you right now, in this moment? So it's really simple, I think, super simple, the humility aspect of that. And I think that you asked a question about, does humility mean that you can't want to be successful personally?
Exactly. Like, you can't want to, I want Scooter to win, right? But that doesn't mean that I can't want myself to win as well.
Right.
Right.
Because Scooter winning doesn't matter at all compared to you winning. Like, CrossFit is a beautiful sport when it comes to that. It really does not matter. I mean, everybody in our gym knows that Scooter is stronger than the rest of us, but it does not matter what Scooter can lift. It doesn't change a thing about what I can lift, right? Exactly. And so you learn to celebrate that, and then in turn, you're going to be able to celebrate yourself more. Because you stop comparing yourself in those ways and stop trying to weigh and balance everything based off of each other, and you just learn to celebrate each other. So I think it's super valuable.
I love aspect. Pat Sherwood talks about scaling, right?
Yeah.
Scaling life, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is being humble.
Yeah.
Right? It is being humble to the core. And it's okay to scale life. Like
Yeah.
you said, I'm not going to lift the same as Scooter, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you know what? We're both doing our best. We're moving forward. So so I kind of like to stop right now and do a hot take.
Yeah.
So,
favorite part.
Pew, 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 pew. So we're going to talk about the hot take. So hot take, what it is we're going to talk about a topic. It could be controversial. It could be just a funny little
Today's
snippet.
is very important.
So I'm actually going to throw this one here to Scooter.
Let's do it, man.
So, Scooter.
Yes.
Two superheroes that don't have superpowers. Which one is better? Iron Man or Batman?
Hands down, it's Iron Man.
Amen.
Sorry,
Amen.
guys, to the Batman lovers out there, but
Doesn't matter.
what grown man dresses up like a bat and runs around at night?
It's not even a real city.
It's not real.
Gotham's not even real.
Gotham's not real. It's not a real thing.
The Marvel Universe is close to reality. So,
Okay. All right. I'm just waiting for the multimillionaires to become superheroes.
that's a fair point.
That's real.
But nobody has a personality like Tony Stark. I don't even care about Iron Man. I just like Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So he's the man. So these hot takes, we want your all's opinions too. So as we move forward here, you guys are going to have an opportunity to respond. We want to hear what you guys think about these things. Like you said, they're really important things, especially this one. So every week we're going to take a quick second, have a hot take, and we want to hear your take. Pardon my take and Scooter's take, but it's definitely Iron Man. Let us know what yours is. I feel that Phil is leaning towards Batman.
Sorry, sorry, Phil.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, it's all right.
Sorry.
I like to be creepy at night. So. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, So, and we're past that.
we're
now.
past that.
Okay, now back onto the cold take now. All right, so Scooter here, I like to think of him as the positivity king, right?
Yes.
When we're coaching at 5:30 a.m. in the mornings, Scooter is positive and he is upbeat, and members can feel that, right? And people can feel that whenever you smile, it makes other people smile, right? You know, when you walk into a room, you can notice that. So, Scooter, kind of like talk us through what is that positivity and how do you continue that positivity?
I think Jamison, man, he hit on a lot of really good things just a minute ago, but pretty much going back to like the humility thing, it's just bigger than us. So, this is a lot of times our escape in life is this gym. So, I've got kids, I know you got kids, Phil, and we all have
kids.
Jamison does not have kids.
I have 2 dogs.
Yeah, he's got 4
Those are
babies.
his kids. Those are his kids, though. But we all have something going on in life that if we allow it to let us go, be down in our mood, it can. So I think it's just such a huge thing to be positive, especially as a coach, because that's where it starts. It's like, I'm supposed to be the leader of this class. So it starts from the head and works its way down. So nobody wants to come in here if this is going to be their escape from their kids, their husbands, their wives, their just hectic lifestyle, and they want me to be all dragging. So I think it's just a great thing to be positive, because it is it's contagious.
Yeah.
So I think that's such a huge thing, is just positivity, because we all want to be happy, and I just want to help people as much as possible, and I can't do that if I'm not positive.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess this is a big thing, is a lot of people think, do I have to be positive all the time? Right?
Yeah,
Like, you ever meet those people and you're like, dude, how are you positive all the time?
How's it real instead of
Yeah. So so let's kind of talk about that, right? Like, can we be positive 100% of the time?
I think that's just, of course, I love it, because the whole CrossFit community is just that. It's a huge community. And, just to be real, when I first came into it, it was a little overwhelming, and I didn't know how to take it, and I'm such, I want to be real always, all the time. And I think it's about not faking anything. So, if you're going through things, it's all right to let that be known that, hey, man, I'm struggling today. Yeah. I'm really not the happiest person today, but that don't mean that I have to walk around like my dog just died. Although maybe your dog actually
did just die.
Yeah. And if it did, I'm sorry that your dog just died. But so I think that's kind of going back, like, biblically, about the joy.
Yeah.
So just because we have the joy don't mean that we have to be walking around happy all the time. So I think that's why I always try to be happy, because I know in my life there's been so many cases to where it causes you to be sad. I just want to dwell on the happy things and not the sad things.
Yeah, and it's all on how you view it, right?
Yeah.
If I view sad things and my perspective is towards those sad things, I'm going to find sad things, and I'm
Exactly
going to
right.
be sad.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at, is the glass half full or is it half empty?
Yeah.
Or is it the opportunist that grabs a glass and drinks it?
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah, that's real.
I love my my 6-year-old daughter. So I have we talked about kids. You have kids too, Scooter. And my 6-year-old was teaching my 8-year-old, and my 8-year-old said, I can't do this. Right? She's being negative, and my 6-year-old goes, Aubrey, just use the power of yet. And I'm like, what? And my daughter was like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, if you say that you can't do it, you never will. But if you say I can't do it yet, eventually you'll get there. And that kind of goes with our always forward, right? It's like, I'm eventually going to get there, right? And I have to find joy in the journey.
That's really good podcast content, so you should pay more attention to them.
I should, right? Maybe we'll have them on the podcast.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
I think to that point though, I think, Scooter, what you pointed at, when we say positivity in the gym specifically, our tagline to that is we don't whine, we don't complain, we look for the wins. So like that's just a super simple practical element of like, we know CrossFit's hard, right? Like we know it's heavy. Like we wrote the workout for it to be heavy. We know that it's heavy. You talking about how heavy it is isn't going to make it any lighter.
Not going to make it. Yeah.
Not going to make the weight lighter. Or for example, we have air conditioning. We just don't turn it on. And so it's hot, right?
it's hot yoga when you got hot
Hot take,
Exactly.
baby.
Hot take every day in the gym. And so, like, it's going to be hot in the room. It's going to be hot outside whenever you're running. Like, we're not saying that it's wrong to know that it's hot outside. The same way that you're just pointing out the fact that, like, hard stuff happens all the time in life. It's just the fact that pointing it out doesn't actually help anything.
Doesn't make
it. Like, okay, yeah, the weight's heavy. Okay, like, complaining about it, bringing the whole class's attention to the fact that your barbell is heavy is not making it lighter. It's just sucking the positivity out of the room. It's
becoming a cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, I think to, again, maybe to take a really quick, like, segue, because you've pointed it out and I've pointed it out, like, a lot of the stuff we're going to say here is really, like, biblically rooted because we're believers and we believe in the Lord and that He has, He's involved in everything in life. And so when we talk through that stuff, like, we recognize the difference between happiness and joy, And so, like, joy and happiness are two very, very different things. There can be an absence of happiness and still an abundance of joy all the time. And so and it's just that perspective thing. It's exactly what you said. What are you dwelling on? What are you focusing on? And so the way we do that with members is don't whine, don't complain, look for the wins. So yes, it's early. It's 5:30 in the morning. You chose to be here.
You drove here.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you're paying us to be here. So we didn't make you come. Be positive. That you don't need to walk in the room. Nobody. I don't believe anybody wants to be the guy that walks in the room and sucks all the energy out.
No.
Surely not. And so it's just the reflective piece of what are you going to focus on, in your positivity. And so, I think that's the whole thing. Is what you focus on.
Okay, great. No, I think that's great. So now it's kind of that last key piece, excellence, right? The world sees excellence, right, as this. I've got a trophy, right? I'm excellent, right? And that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
But we kind of view excellence a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
And it's not exactly the landmark that you're getting to, but it's maybe the stop that's along the road. And so let's kind of talk about that. What is excellence? How do you measure excellence?
Yeah, I think going back to how we started the podcast, man, it's excellence and always forward go hand in hand, I think, and it's just our version of how we talk about it, because excellence is a pursuit. Excellence is progress. It isn't a destination, because if you arrive at excellence, then technically you've arrived at perfection, which is unachievable. And so that whole thing, what we want to communicate to our members is we don't ever celebrate perfection, because it's an unachievable myth, and all it does is make you discontent. All it does is make you unhappy. And so it puts you in a room of people, and if that's your mentality, all you do is compare yourself to everybody else in the room. Well, they can do this, if we're talking CrossFit specifically, they can do this gymnastics movement better than I can, or they can lift this weight more than I can. And so, we've got a competition coming up that we're participating in, next weekend, and that's already in my head. Whenever I walk up, is this idea of, well, I haven't arrived at the same level at some of these other guys, so I don't deserve to be here. But chasing excellence, pursuing excellence in that moment means I'm going to do the absolute best that I can do, regardless of what's around me.
That's right.
And so it's a progress over perfection. It's the whole becoming is better than being thing. It's the whole greater than yesterday thing. Excellence is just is the constant drive for more, not in a greedy way, not in some sort of selfish restless way, but in this I've got this fire in me that says tomorrow is going to be better than today in this specific way. And so the always forward mentality is tied directly to that excellence piece. And so our tag for that is to be excellent. It means we never settle, we keep chasing, and we're always moving forward. And so you got anything to say?
No. Listen, you're doing a great job. Listen, man.
So let's kind of talk a little bit, deep dive in that a little bit more. Okay, so with excellence, you have to have failures, right? And that's part of it, right? I love it that you don't always remember about your wins, but as an athlete, you always remember your failures.
You remember those, man.
Yeah, because they stick in your mind, right?
Yeah.
It's because they stick in your mind, and you focus on those, and you build upon that, and that becomes who you are, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And it can either crush you,
Yeah.
or it can lift you up.
Yeah.
And so let's kind of talk about that. How can we progress from failing? How is that possible? And how can we, like you said, continue to fall forward?
Yeah. You want to say something about that?
I think just for it to be known, without failure, we'll never truly, appreciate success. So so people know that failure is a necessity in life. We have to fail, because it's just only going to help us strive to be better, strive to be greater. Because if you're always at the top, there's
Nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go, but down. So,
or you're not looking up anymore.
Yeah, you're not looking up, and you're not
that humble
going
piece.
forward.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's a consideration of you're never. There's no such thing as standing still. So with the college, the university they were really close to, they do a drill with these football players, with the football team, and they basically strap them in, and they put a guy behind them, and they just say, go forwards. You got to bear crawl forwards. But there's always tension. But there's only tension, there's worse tension whenever they stop moving. And so whenever they quit, whenever they get tired and they stop, they're going to pull them backwards. So it's just like the realization and the reality check that there is no such thing as staying still. I think that's like a super, super useful life lesson, is there is no such thing as standing still. As soon as you quit moving forward, you're getting pulled back. Like you can't just stay. There's no stagnating through life. There's no just arriving to a certain point and going like, I'll hang here forever. Like you're either going backwards or you're going forwards. There's no such thing as standing still. And so I think that it's okay. Like it's not only okay to fail, you have to fail. And I think that we talk about failure like in almost some sort of like really like, to be honest, like a sexy way. Like failure's so good because we're going to learn from it. And like that needs to be checked a little bit because like you look at all of the major successful companies like Pixar or Apple, Disney, like big successful companies with this great branded culture, like or Google, and they legitimately create time and space for their employees to screw up, to fail. And some of like I want to say with Google, like Gmail came out of a failure, like somebody's bad idea ended up becoming Gmail. Something like that. And so, like, that's cool. Like, cool. That's failing forwards. That's learning from mistakes. That's creating space to fail. There's a difference between those kind of failures and, like, the big, like, personal, intense failures, you know? And so, like, I think it's important to, like, debunk that myth that, like, chasing excellence is pursuing excellence is understanding that you're a work in progress. But it's not an excuse to be an idiot. You know, like it's not an excuse to go like, sorry, I'm a jerk. I'm just a work in progress. You know,
sorry, bro.
Like, sorry, I hit you. You know, sorry that I'm the worst.
I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah,
sorry.
I said with all due respect.
Yeah, with all due respect, I hate you, but it's okay because I'm a work in progress. You know, and so like it's not presuming upon the fact that you're a work in progress to allow you to stay the same because there is no staying the same. If you're staying the same, you're moving backwards. You have to be taking that progressive step forwards, and so like. Failing is good and failing forwards is good, but when I say it, I mean it like in the deep parts. You know, I don't just mean like, hey man, you failed that clean and jerk. You'll learn next time. Or like, hey, like screwed up that project at work. You'll get it next time. Like you'll learn from it. Like yeah, we mean that when we say it. But I think when we say it, like we mean it in the deep things, like the intense parts of life that are like, hey, you really messed that up. You know, like when it comes to I think the deepest ways that we mess things up often are in our relationships. And so, like, hey, man, like, you screwed that one up. Like, you messed that up. Like, you should not have talked to your wife that way. You should not have, like, dealt with your kids that way. I don't have that problem yet. Hopefully ever.
Hopefully you feed your dogs the right way.
Hopefully you feed the dogs, you know? But, like, I think that we see that all the time. I think, like, we've gotten to know each other well enough to see that in each other of how we drop the ball, on how even we deal with each other. So we don't just mean the practical setbacks. Absolutely, we want to learn to fail forwards in that. But how do we check ourselves daily on being excellent in even those really deep parts of our character? You know, how do you fail forwards in your character, in your, if you're religious or spiritual? How do you fail forwards in your spirituality? How do you fail forwards in your morality? How do you fail forwards in your behavior and in your character and who you are? Like learning, I am not yet who I want to be, but I'm constantly becoming the next thing. And so. I don't know if that even really answers the question. It's just like, it kind of fires me up when people are like, yeah, learn from your mistakes. I'm like, I don't think you're being honest about about your mistakes. Like, most of your mistakes are in here or in here. Like, not really out there. And so that's cool that you're willing to learn from your external mistakes, the way that you mess stuff up at work or in the gym or whatever, but I'm more interested in you learning from how you fail forwards inside. You know, like, how do you redefine some things in your character or in your mind or whatever. And so chasing excellence for me has a lot more to do with internal stuff, I think, than even external stuff. But absolutely, it's like fail forwards because when you fail a rep, to speak practically about it, when you fail a clean and jerk, you got a lesson to learn.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna figure that out. That's why we film stuff. So we can
What are
watch
those points of performance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's just exactly life. And I think that kind of tie this all kind of together. It starts and ends with self-reflection.
Yeah.
Right? That kind of like brings this whole thing back around, right? Self-reflection is so important in internalizing things and making sure that you're keeping yourself in check.
Yeah.
Right? And so, hey, Scooter, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you, man.
Really appreciate you
Wanna
coming.
come back on it sometime?
Well, absolutely. I'm not as eloquent in my speech as you
No,
are.
I think
so,
you're great.
thank you. I'm a little shy, a little camera shy. So
Well, thank you for the audience for listening to us go on about this, and
Yeah.
Awesome.
hopefully you come back. Please subscribe, leave us a review, and our next episode we're going to talk about the 3 daily habits, the power of habits, and how they can help us or hurt us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you so much.
Out.